All right, it's me. Yeah, I'm still sick. So, but don't worry, I prepared in advance. Actually, I'm going to show a collection of these segments that originally began as an audio bit for the Mr Nailsin Show podcast. And I took it from sort of like a parody of this old radio spot show. It would be like, I don't know, a couple of minutes long, maybe five at the most, that would be played during radio shows way back when in them old timey days. And this one in particular was a sort of a ripoff of the Ripley's Believe It or Not segments, which also had these radio spots. And this one was called Incredible But True. And I was taken by the voice of the guy. So I'm kind of sort of mimicking that in these recordings. And then eventually I adapted them to video for my YouTube channel and whatnot. And eventually just about all of them uh, have been archived over at my nailsinratings.locals.com. But I thought especially now when I get sick and stuff, which for one reason or another happens quite often, or either that or the voice goes out and stuff like that. So I just grabbed a bunch of them, looked up in my old files, and it's hard to believe I've been doing them for that long, but it's been quite a while. And put them all together. It runs a little over an hour, and I'll throw that up there. In the meantime, I'll probably come in and out of it, but I'll demonstrate. I'll be coloring some comic book pages that I'm working on, and another Photoshop of Anthony Cumia as a Star Trek character for the Cumia show. So anyway, that's the deal. That's how that'll go. So I'll start playing the first one, or it's all done up and edited into one long run. And as I put it up on screen, I'll put it off to the side. So it'll kind of, if I click it on, it'll go, it's going to show, it'll start playing. Well, maybe, let's see, I'll go ahead and put this up. There we go. So that's what you'll see me doing, is coloring images. That's from Night Night issue 4, I believe. I should know this. And I'll be working on that. And so there you go. That's what I'll do. And off to the side will be perhaps, but maybe not. Not really capable of doing the voice now because of the sore throat. So, but anyway, here we go. I'll get it on there. And, I can't do it like that. You got to be kidding me. Crap. So maybe I got to just add it as shared media. I guess that's what I got to do. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. All right. Okay. So that's the deal. That's how it'll look. Oh, no. Man, all this preparation I didn't really need to do because I uploaded it to EV Mux and everything. Oh, well. All right. I'll start it now, and then I'll start coloring the comic book pages. Is the Calcasieu Courthouse haunted? Perhaps, but maybe not. The Calcasieu Courthouse was constructed in 1895 in downtown Lake Charles, Louisiana. Designed by renowned architect Oswald A. Hayes, the courthouse was an architectural marvel of its time. Its imposing structure stood as a symbol of justice and governance, attracting the attention and admiration of locals and visitors alike.
However, the courthouse is not just an ordinary courthouse. It has a history steeped in mystery and tales of ghostly encounters. The old building, which dates back to the late 19th century, has witnessed significant events and has become a hotspot for paranormal activities. In the year 1942, the Calcasieu Courthouse became the stage for a harrowing and infamous event. Tony Jo Henry, a woman convicted of murder, met her untimely demise within these very walls. The method of execution? Electrocution. As the electric current surged through her body, the courthouse bore witness to a haunting spectacle that would forever haunt its corridors. Legend has it that the anguish and despair of Tony Jo Henry's final moments have become etched into the very fabric of the courthouse. Visitors and employees alike have reported eerie phenomena that suggest her spirit still lingers here. The sound of ghostly footsteps reverberates through the halls, accompanied by the haunting echo of a woman's weeping. Many have claimed to catch glimpses of a figure dressed in a tattered, blood-soaked dress, believed to be the restless soul of Tony Jo Henry herself. Those brave enough to venture into the depths of the courthouse have been both fascinated and terrified by these ghostly manifestations. The air becomes heavy with a sense of foreboding as one steps foot into the building, each creaking floorboard and flickering light adding to the spine-chilling atmosphere. The presence of Tony Jo Henry's spirit serves as a constant reminder of the darkness that once dwelled within these walls. While Tony Jo Henry's ghostly presence is undoubtedly the most infamous, it is not the only supernatural phenomenon experienced within the Calcasieu Courthouse. Countless witnesses, both employees and visitors, have shared their encounters with the unknown, further cementing the building's reputation as a paranormal hotspot. Photographs taken within the courthouse have revealed unexplained apparitions, ghostly figures that materialize within the captured images. These spectral anomalies defy rational explanation, leaving skeptics scratching their heads and believers convinced of the building's supernatural energy. Objects within the courthouse have been known to mysteriously shift and move on their own accord. Desks rearrange themselves overnight. Files inexplicably vanish only to reappear in unexpected locations, and doors swing open with an unseen force. These perplexing occurrences have baffled even the most skeptical of minds, leaving behind a lingering sense of awe and wonder. As one explores the labyrinthine corridors of the courthouse, they may encounter pockets of bone-chilling coldness. These chilling spots, devoid of any logical explanation, leave visitors shivering and questioning the nature of their reality. Could these icy patches be portals to another realm, or merely a trick of the mind? While some attribute these paranormal activities to the tragic history of the courthouse, others dismiss them as mere figments of the imagination or natural phenomena. Yet the stories persist, passed down through generations, captivating the curious and instilling fear in the hearts of those who dare to tread upon the haunted grounds of the Calcasieu Courthouse. Several courthouse employees have come forward with their experiences of the paranormal. For years, they have observed strange happenings within the building, leading them to believe in the presence of spirits. An employee who wishes to remain anonymous recalls hearing disembodied voices and footsteps when no one else was around. The eerie echoes of these phantom sounds reverberated through the empty hallways, sending chills down their spine. They often found themselves questioning their own sanity as they They searched for logical explanations, but the inexplicable nature of these occurrences left them with no rational answers. Another employee, a custodian who has spent countless nights alone in the courthouse, claims to have seen doors open and close on their own as if operated by an unseen force. The creaking hinges and sudden movements of these doors defied the laws of physics, leaving the custodian in a state of awe and fear. They couldn't help but wonder if the spirits of the past were trying to communicate, or if they were merely mischievous entities playing tricks on unsuspecting witnesses. Such accounts contribute to the overall eerie atmosphere of the haunted Calcasieu Courthouse. The employees' shared experiences have created a bond among them as they find solace in knowing they are not alone in their encounters with the supernatural. Visitors who have embarked on ghost tours and investigations at the Calcasieu Courthouse have also shared their paranormal encounters. Many have reported feeling sudden drops in temperature, unexplained noises, and the sensation of being watched. One visitor mentioned capturing an apparition in a photograph, forever preserving the ghostly presence that lingered within the courthouse's walls. The image, a chilling reminder of the unknown, sparked debates among skeptics and believers alike, fueling the curiosity surrounding the courthouse's haunted reputation. Another brave soul claims to have experienced a cold hand gripping their shoulder when exploring the courthouse's dark corridors. The icy touch sent shivers down their spine, leaving an indelible mark on their memory. The encounter left them questioning the nature of the entity that reached out to them from the ethereal realm. These first-hand experiences have solidified the courthouse's reputation as a paranormal hotspot. People from all walks of life had ventured to this historic building, eager to witness the supernatural for themselves. The stories and encounters shared by visitors have become a tapestry of the courthouse's haunted history, adding to its allure and attracting thrill-seekers from far and wide. Several ghost hunting teams have visited the courthouse to conduct investigations. Equipped with high-tech equipment, they aim to capture evidence of paranormal activity and provide a scientific explanation for the reported hauntings. Some teams have recorded EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, capturing faint voices that may belong to the spirits within the courthouse. Others have detected unusual electromagnetic fields in certain areas. While these findings do not definitively prove the existence of ghosts, they add a layer of intrigue to the haunted tales. But not everyone is convinced that the Calcasieu Courthouse is truly haunted. Skeptics argue that the reported paranormal activities can be attributed to factors such as architecture, faulty wiring, or the power of suggestion. They insist that a logical, scientific explanation exists for every ghostly encounter. While their views may be met with skepticism themselves, they bring balance to the ongoing debate surrounding the haunted Calcasieu Courthouse. So, is the Calcasieu Courthouse in Lake Charles, Louisiana, haunted? Or is it merely a case of the power of suggestion inspired by drafty areas and bumps in the night? Perhaps, but maybe not.
Now, I've been to the courthouse. I never saw anything. But, yeah, it's a story, so.
Besides haunted houses, can other objects be haunted? Perhaps, but maybe not. It is said that some articles of possession can at times be haunted by departed spirits. So we'll take a look at a list of 3 that some claim are some of the most haunted objects in the world. First on our list is a haunted wedding dress that once belonged to Anna Baker, who was the daughter of rich iron magnate Elias Baker. Since Anna's father had so much money, she had everything that she could ever wish for, except true love. Her father had made it very clear that when Anna married, it would have to be to someone of her own social standing. In other words, the groom had to be rich. However, as fate would have it, Anna fell head over heels in love for a low-paid worker at her father's blast furnace, and Elias was none too happy about it. He forbade her from marrying her one true love, and as a response, Anna decided she would never marry, and died an old maid. Because she couldn't marry her one true love, she was unable to wear the dress that she and her mother had picked out for just such an occasion. And up until recently, Anna's dress was displayed at the Blair County Historical Society's museum in her old bedroom. The dress was kept in a big box made out of glass, where it has been said to sway and move from side to side, all on its own. That's it. I mean, that's not much of a story. I mean, if it, left the box and floated around, that'd be something, but... Well, anyway, somehow it made the list. Next up, the Conjure Chest. 150 years ago, Jacob Cooley ordered his African-American slave, Hosea, to build a chest for his first child. Well, Hosea set to work, crafting a wooden chest of some remark. But for some unknown reason, his master was displeased, and so he beat his slave to a pulp, killing him. Cooley's other slaves vowed to avenge the death of their friend, and sprinkled the dried blood of an owl in the chest, and had a conjure man curse the chest. As if by magic, Cooley's firstborn died in infancy, and over the forthcoming years a total of 17 deaths were attributed to the chest. Eventually, the curse was lifted by a conjure woman. So there's that. A bunch of people died. So I guess there's something to it. I don't know. As for the chest, it can be found in the Kentucky History Museum in Frankfort. So if you want to go look at it. But apparently it doesn't really do anything anymore. So our final object, number 3, the Haunted Mirror. Myrtle's Plantation can be found on the outskirts of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Down the years, this 200-year-old 10-acre plantation has served as a family home, but these days, it's run as a bed and breakfast and as a hotspot for paranormal tourists. Every night at 3 a.m., a total of 15 ghosts come out to play. 4 of these ghosts come from one tragic tale, that of the Woodruff family, and a young slave named Chloe. In 1817, Sarah Matilda inherited the plantation from her father. She moved in with her husband, Clark Woodruff, and their 3 children. Clark decided to bring one of his own slaves with him from his home. That would be Chloe. One evening, when Clark caught Chloe eavesdropping on one of his private conversations, he cut off her ear. From that day on, Chloe would wear a green turban to cover up her mutilation. Chloe, to win back the trust of her owner so she would not be sent to toil in the fields, hatched a plan. She made a birthday cake for the Woodruff's eldest daughter, but spiked it with oleander leaves, a poisonous plant found on the plantation. The family would become sick, and Chloe, knowing the antidote, would be on hand and nurse them back to health, and in doing so, get back in her master's good books. Or so was the plan. In actual fact, Chloe got her doses wrong, and Clark's wife and 2 of his children died of poisoning. Distraught by her actions, Chloe confessed to the other slaves, who panicked, believing they'd be blamed for hiding the culprit. So they hanged Chloe and threw her lifeless body in the Mississippi River. So, according to fable, there's an old Southern tradition stating that when a family member dies, all the mirrors in the home must be covered up so that the soul of the deceased will pass on to the next world and not become trapped in a reflection of this world. As was the norm on the night of the tragic poisonings, all the mirrors in the house were covered up, except one. Aside, witnessing a dark-skinned ghost with a turban on her head wandering the plantation, visitors to the bed and breakfast were also shown an ornate mirror inside the home where the souls of the mother and children are said to be trapped. Some claim to see handprints, others the faces of children, but one thing's for sure: it's not the mirror you'd want to regularly do your hair in. On a side note, when Clark learned of the fate of his family, he surrounded the house with myrtle crepe cheese. Hence the plantation's name. Okay, whatever. Anyway, so I guess the Myrtle Plantation for the wid here. The wedding dress was a bust. The chest, well, kind of, sort of. But the Myrtle Plantation, good Lord, it's got ghosts all over the place. And a haunted mirror, so that's something. That's something. So, does the Myrtle Plantation home hold a mirror that traps the souls of Clark Woodruff's wife and children? Perhaps, but maybe not. Is the cemetery of Bachelor's Grove haunted? Perhaps, but maybe not. Bachelor's Grove Cemetery is a small 1-acre plot near the Rubio Woods Forest Preserve, southwestern suburb of Midlothian, also famous as one of the Chicago area's most haunted sites, with a long history of more than 100 reports of paranormal phenomena occurring there. The cemetery is fenced in, with a single gate on the south side and a single path winding through the plot. A stagnant pond lies just outside the northwestern corner. The cemetery is overgrown and unkempt and is subject to frequent vandalism, perhaps because of the popularity of the haunting legends. Graves and markers have been defaced and mutilated, and coffins have been disinterred and opened. Evidence of animal sacrifices near a lagoon at one corner of the cemetery has pointed to possible occult rites practiced there. The cemetery was first known as Everton Cemetery, and the first burial was in 1844. It is not certain why the cemetery became known as Bachelor's Grove in 1864. According to one popular story, the name came from unmarried men who were among the first settlers. Perhaps more likely, it was derived from a German family name such as Batchelder. Yeah, it's something like that. Anyway, during the gangster era of the 1920s and 30s, bodies of the victims of gang warfare allegedly were dumped in the lagoon. Stories of haunting phenomena began to proliferate in the 1960s. Burials decreased after 1965, and the area became popular as a lover's lane and gathering spot for youths, many of whom were eager to be spooked. Youthful vandals also began visiting the cemetery, overturning tombstones, desecrating and opening graves, and strewing bones about. Haunting reports reached a peak in the 1970s and 80s. The last recorded burial was in 1989. The most often reported apparition at Bachelor's Grove is a vanishing house, or even a floating house. It is a two-storied Victorian farmhouse with a white picket fence, a colonnaded porch with a swing, and a warm light shining within it. The house is always seen at a distance and looks convincingly real, but those who approach it find that it shrinks in size the closer they get, or abruptly disappears altogether. According to legend, anyone who succeeds in reaching it and entering it will never return. The vanishing house has been widely reported since the 1960s and drawn by numerous witnesses. However, there is no historical record of such a house existing in the vicinity. A number of ghosts of human beings have been reported, including repeated sightings of hooded phantom monks and a woman called either the White Lady or the Madonna of Bachelor's Grove. The presence of phantom monks is puzzling, as no monastery was ever in the area. The White Lady carries a baby in her arms and wanders aimlessly through the cemetery on nights of the full moon. Popular myth says she's the ghost of a woman who is buried there next to the grave of her baby. No historical records document the story. Other apparitions are of a two-headed man, a child, a black carriage, and a glowing man in yellow. Many reports have been made of sightings of a ghostly farmer and his horse and plow. The story goes that in the 1870s, a farmer was plowing near the pond when his horse inexplicably bolted into the water. Both man and animal were drowned. Phantom vehicles also have been reported on the cemetery's path and on the Midlothian Turnpike just outside the plot. The vehicles vanish as people approach them. Some people have reported seeing or being in phantom accidents. Flashing and dancing lights have been reported in the cemetery, especially a blue light that resembles that of a police car. Flashing white lights also have been seen in both daytime and at night, as well as a red light that streaks across the sky over the path in the cemetery. The Midlothian Turnpike can be seen through the trees on the northwestern side of the cemetery. The lights do not exhibit quite the same behavior as ghost lights. Sightings of these lights were especially frequent during the 1970s. In December 1971, a young woman said she succeeded in putting her hand through one of the flashing lights, but felt nothing. An amazing photograph was taken at Bachelor's Grove in 1991 on an investigation by the Ghost Research Society using infrared film. No living person other than the photographer was visible at the time, but the photograph clearly shows a human figure seated on the checkered monument near the south entrance. The woman's face seems flat, with only a hint of a nose visible. Her feet blend into the grass, which appears white under infrared light, giving an appearance of translucence. Since this photo was taken, the checkered monument has been photographed hundreds of times without producing anything nearly as spectacular. She doesn't appear to be holding a baby in the image, so I suppose the White Lady is not quite a suspect here, but nevertheless, a truly ghostly image of a woman. So, is Bachelor's Grove haunted? Or just people getting psyched out over a cemetery? Perhaps, but maybe not. Does the strange case of the murder of Charles Watton involve the paranormal? Perhaps, but maybe not. Charles Walton was a native of the small village of Lower Quinton in Warwickshire, England. He was found murdered on the Valentine's night of February 14th, 1945, in somewhat mysterious circumstances at a small farm known as the Firs, situated on the slopes of Meon Hill. The local chief inspector, Robert Fabian, was asked to lead the investigation into Walton's death. Very quickly, the inspector came to a dead end with his investigation and failed to gather sufficient evidence to charge anyone with the murder. The case has earned considerable notoriety because some believe Walton was killed as a blood sacrifice, or as part of a witchcraft ceremony, or indeed because he was suspected of being a witch himself. However, it is known that the chief suspect was the manager of the Firs, a man named Alfred John Potter, for whom Walton was working on the day he died. It is the oldest unsolved murder on the Warwickshire Constabulary records. On February 14th, 1945, Walton left his home with a pitchfork and a slash hook, a double-edged pruning implement with a sharpened straight edge on one side and concave cutting edge on the other. He was seen by 2 witnesses to have passed through the churchyard between 9 a.m. and 9:30 a.m. This was the last recorded sighting of Walton alive. Charles was expected to be home by 4 p.m. His wife Edith returned home at about 6 p.m. and was worried to find that Charles was not there. His solitary nature and regular habits gave her no solace that he might be in the local pub or visiting a friend. Edith went to see her neighbor, an agricultural worker by the name of Harry Beasley, who lived at 16 Lower Quinton. Together they made their way to the Firs to alert Alfred Potter. Potter claimed to have last seen Charles earlier in the day, slashing hedges in Hillground. The 3 of them set out in the direction of the spot where Charles had last been seen and eventually found his body near a hedgerow. The scene was a shocking one because the murderer had beaten Walton all over the head with his own stick, had cut his neck open with the slash hook, and driven the prongs of the pitchfork either side of his neck, pinning him to the ground. The handle of the pitchfork had then been wedged under a crossmember of the hedge, and the slash hook had been buried in his neck. The first strange fact the investigation uncovered related to the murder of 80-year-old Ann Tennant, a resident of Long Compton, some 15 miles from Lower Quinton. 70 years previously, in 1875, Ann had been killed with a pitchfork by one James Haywood on the grounds that she was a witch who possessed paranormal abilities. In many accounts, it has been said that Ann was pinned to the ground with a pitchfork and slashed with a billhook. The second bizarre fact: Detective Superintendent Alex Spooner, head of Warwickshire CID, is said to have drawn the investigators' attention to a 1929 book entitled Folklore, Old Customs and Superstitions in Shakespeare-land, written by the Reverend James Harvey Bloom, rector of Whitchurch. The book included an alleged paranormal true story about how in 1885 a young plowboy, also named Charles Watton, had met a phantom black dog on his way home from work on several nights in succession. On the last occasion, the dog had been accompanied by a headless woman. That night, Walton had heard that his sister had died. The third strange fact was another villager, of course, Ann Tennant, who was indeed murdered in exactly the same way as Charles Walton in 1875. The event occurred on September 15th at about 8 o'clock in the evening. Ann Tennant left her house in Long Compton to buy a loaf of bread. On her way back, She met some farm workers returning home from harvesting in the fields. One of the group was a local man, James Haywood, who had known Anne's family for many years. Haywood was simple-minded and was seen as something akin to a village idiot. It is known that he also had been drinking cider. Without warning, he attacked Ann Tennant with a pitchfork, pinned her to the ground, stabbing her in the legs and head. A local farmer named Taylor heard the commotion and ran to Ann's aid. He restrained Haywood until a constable arrived. Ann was taken to her daughter's house but died of her injuries at around 11:15 that night. Haywood claimed that Ann was a witch and that there were other witches in the village whom he intended to deal with in the same way. Although committed to trial for murder, he was found not guilty on the grounds of insanity and spent the rest of his life in Broadmoor Criminal Lunatic Asylum. He is recorded as dying there at the age of 59 in the first half of 1890. Now, even today, the inhabitants of the Quintons claim the phantom black dogs roam the area and are a harbinger of death. It is claimed that soon after Walton's murder, a black dog was found hanging from a tree close to the murder scene. While the chief police investigator himself wrote that he encountered a black dog while walking at dusk in Neon Hill. The dog ran past him, and shortly afterwards he met a local boy walking in the same direction. He asked the boy if he was looking for his dog, but when Fabian mentioned the animal's color, the boy turned a deathly pale and fled in the opposite direction. So, was this merely a series of coincidences loosely connected by the local vicinity's grisly history of murder? Or was this the curse of witchcraft? Perhaps, but maybe not. And now it's time for Perhaps, but Maybe Not. A couple checks into a hotel and have to put up with a foul odor in their room all night. They call the staff to complain, and somebody figures out the stench is coming from the bed. The staff take off the mattress and discover the couple has been sleeping over the rotting body of a dead girl who has been stuffed in the box spring. Yes, a popular urban legend. So creepy it can't possibly be true. Well, unfortunately, I've got bad news for you. Not only is it true, it's happened several times. On July 10th, 2003, a man checked into the Capri Motel just east of downtown Kansas City and began complaining about a foul odor in his room. Management told him nothing could be done about the problem, and he spent 3 nights in his room before checking out because he could no longer stand the smell. When the cleaning staff came in to make up the room on July 13th, they lifted the mattress and underneath found a man's body in an advanced stage of decomposition. On June 10th, 1999, the rapidly decomposing remains of 64-year-old Saul Hernandez were discovered inside the bed in room 112 at the Burgundy Motor Inn in Atlantic City, New Jersey. A German couple had spent the night sleeping over Hernandez's remains, and it was their complaint to the manager about the smell in the room which led to the discovery of the corpse. In July 1996, a woman's body was found under a mattress in the Colorado Boulevard Travel Lodge in Pasadena, California. Apparently, The motel staff discovered her 10 days after her demise, and only after guests had complained for several days of a foul odor coming from the room. In August 1994, in Fort Lauderdale, hotel staff discovered the body of 47-year-old Brian Gregory tucked under a platform bed. Though the staff had themselves noticed the strange smell for days, they only set about looking for its source after a German couple spent the night in the room and afterwards complained about the odor. Jeez, good help's hard to find, isn't it? In March 1994, the body of 24-year-old Josefina Martinez was found underneath a bed at the Travelers Hotel near Miami International Airport. Again, the discovery was prompted by an aggrieved German tourist upset about a foul odor in his room. Well, of course, Florida would have two cases. In Virginia, 1989, Jerry Lee Dunbar disposed of the remains of his two victims this way. 27-year-old Deidre Smith, who was discovered in May under the floor of a motel room on Route 1, and 29-year-old Marilyn Graham, who turned up in June under a bed in Alexandria Econo Lodge. In Smith's case, the killer first kept her body partially hidden under the bed for 2 days, then subsequently placed it in the crawl space under the carpet floor. Her presence seemingly didn't bother him because he didn't move out of that room until 3 or 4 weeks later. Both girls' bodies were eventually found, yes, you guessed it, after the guests complained about the stink. I could go on, but it's pretty much the same story over and over. A motel staff that apparently can't smell, and dead bodies mostly found by German tourists. So, are there any chances that you'll be sleeping over a dead body soon? Perhaps, but maybe not.
Liz, we've got some bad news. We don't have a turkey this year, and since you kind of look like one, well, yeah.
Burn the witch! Did you ever meet a witch, Driscoll?
Yes, and then I divorced her.
Well, it seems the forecast for this evening.
That Selfie address is no longer. I forgot that was in there. The store doesn't exist anymore. But this particular movie of me doing my poor man Mr. Science Theater treatment to it is available on my locals behind the paywall. So there you go. Should clear that up.
Calls for partly cloudy to clear skies, except for you folks in Whitewood. It seems some idiot dumped a ton of dry ice into the ocean right off the coast, and so it's going to be pea soup fog for the next hour and a half. And now back to Rockin' Dale's Death Metal Marathon.
Oh, yeah.
Is there a ginormous death worm lurking within the Gobi Desert? Perhaps, but maybe not. It sounds like a fantastic lethal creature that might be found in a 1950s pulp science fiction novel. But some people believe that a large, deadly worm-like creature called the Mongolian death worm exists in the Gobi Desert. According to British biologist Carl Schuker in his book, The Unexplained, an illustrated guide to the world's paranormal mysteries,
one of the world's most sensational creatures may be concealed amid the sands of the southern Gobi Desert. It is said to resemble a large, fat worm, up to 1 meter,
3 feet,
long and dark red in color, with spike-like projections at both ends. It spends much of its time hidden beneath the desert sands, but whenever one is spotted lying on the surface, it is scrupulously avoided by the locals.
According to legend, the dreaded Mongolian death worm, which local people called Olgoi Korkoi, or loosely translated, large intestine worm, has lived up to its name. It can kill in several fearsome ways, including spitting a stream of corrosive venom that is lethal to anything it hits. And if that doesn't do the trick, it is said to be able to electrocute its victims from a distance. Rarely seen and never photographed, it was mentioned in a 1926 book by paleontologist Roy Chapman Andrews, who didn't believe in the animal's existence but noted that stories of it circulated in Mongolia. Despite, or perhaps because of, the creature's fearsome name, many intrepid explorers have set out into the Gobi Desert seeking the beast. Numerous organized expeditions and searches have been made over the years by both independent researchers and in conjunction with television shows. Despite extensive searches, eyewitness interviews, and even setting traps for the beast, all have come back empty-handed. Many of those who believe in the creature acknowledge that there is no hard evidence of his existence, but instead believe that legends and stories of them must have some basis in historical truth. The descriptions, mostly second and third-hand stories, from different places and times, are too similar, they believe, to be anything but independent eyewitness reports. From a folkloric perspective, however, this is simply a sign that legends and stories of the death worm have spread throughout the region, as commonly happens through trade and travel. Many people around the world can offer very similar descriptions of dragons, leprechauns, mermaids, and other fantastic, presumably non-existent creatures. Not from personal experience, but from hearing about them from others. So, is there a real animal behind the stories and legends? It seems doubtful, compared to the North American Bigfoot or the Himalayan Yeti, for which there are dozens or hundreds of alleged footprints, photographs, for example. There is virtually no evidence of the death worm's existence. Consider also that no live or dead ones have been found. Every other creature known to exist has left behind a dead body or skeleton. In fact, the Gobi would likely preserve carcasses of the animal, due to the relative lack of predators and the hot desert winds that slow decomposition. Inhabitants of the Gobi are aware of the global interest in their mystery monster, as well as offers of rich rewards for one of the creatures, live or dead. And if one was found, it would surely come to light. A zoological perspective may help us sort fact from fiction in the legend of the Mongolian death worm. First of all, we should not be misled by the worm in its name. That's an English translation. The creature, if it exists in the inhospitable Gobi Desert, could not be a soft, fleshy worm. Instead, it is likely a type of snake or legless lizard. This also means it would be a vertebrate animal with a spine that would presumably be found by searchers. A variety of explanations have been offered for the animal, including perhaps a misidentified or new species of snake. The consensus among researchers such as Schuker and author Richard Freeman is that the Mongolian death worm likely does not exist, and the belief is instead based upon sightings of either a type of limbless reptile known as a worm lizard, which resembles a large worm, burrows underground, and can reach several feet in length, or a type of sand boa snake. Of course, not all the characteristics of the worm lizard or sand boa are a perfect match for the death worm. For example, terrestrial snakes can't deliver lethal electric shocks the way that electric eels, which are actually fish, not eels, for example, can. For that matter, several venomous snakes, primarily cobras and vipers, can spit poison, which, although not acidic, can certainly cause harm and blindness. Yet these reputed characteristics are based not on hard data, but myths and stories. Some accounts of the death worm can claim that its venomous spittle can corrode metal instantly, which is physically impossible. With allowances made for the exaggeration found in rumor, legend, and folklore, the worm lizard or a sand snake seem likely candidates. So, is there a giant, lethal, worm-like creature stalking the Gobi Desert? Perhaps, but maybe not. Was Dragon Man an ancestral precursor to humanity? Perhaps, but maybe not. Scientists announced that a mammoth fossilized skull discovered at the bottom of a well in northeastern China in 2018 could be more closely related to modern humans than Neanderthals. The so-called Harbin skull was reportedly first discovered in the 1930s in the Chinese city of the same name in Heilongjiang province. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we'll go with it. But was then hidden for about 85 years to protect it from the Japanese army. It was later dug up and handed over in 2018 to Ji Guang, a professor at Hebei Geo University. Scientists made the thrilling announcement in a new study that the well-preserved cranium belonged to a previously unknown species of ancient human who lived in East Asia at least 146,000 years ago.
On our analysis, the Harbin group is more closely linked to Homo sapiens than the Neanderthals are. That is, Harbin shared a more recent common ancestor with us than the Neanderthals did,
said co-author Chris Stringer of the Natural History Museum in London.
If these are regarded as distinct species, then this is our sister, most closely related species,
Stringer added. The scientists named the new hominin Homo longi, which is derived from Heilongjiang, or Black Dragon River, yeah, let's go with that, the province where the skull was found, and also dubbed the ancient forebear Dragon Man. His skull dates back at least 146,000 years, placing it in the Middle Pleistocene, though it could be as old as 309,000 years, according to geochemical analysis. The cranium, which is believed to have belonged to a male around 50 years old, could hold a brain comparable in size to that of modern humans, but with larger eye sockets, thick brow ridges, a wide mouth, and oversized teeth.
While it shows typical archaic human features, the Harbin cranium presents a mosaic combination of primitive and derived characters, setting itself apart from all the other previously named Homo species,
said G, a co-author of the study. The findings were published in the journal The Innovation.
This population would have been hunter-gatherers living off the land,
said Stringer.
From the winter temperatures in Harbin today, it looks like they were coping with even harsher cold than the Neanderthals.
The researchers first studied the external morphology of the skull using over 600 traits, and then ran millions of simulations using a computer model that examined the connection to other fossils.
They suggest that Harbin and some other fossils from China form a third lineage of later humans alongside the Neanderthals and Homo sapiens,
Stringer explained. If Homo sapiens had reached East Asia at the time Homo longi roamed the earth, they might have interbred, though this remains unclear. And we shouldn't be spreading vicious gossipy rumors like that. But anyway, there are also many answered questions about their culture and technology level, but the finding could still reshape our understanding of human evolution.
That establishes a third human lineage in East Asia with its own evolutionary history and shows how important the region was for human evolution,
said Stringer. So, Was the Dragon Man a distant ancestor for mankind in total? Yeah, well, it looks like probably so. But anyway, who knows? So perhaps, but maybe not. At the beginning of 2020, was there a sign in the sky alerting us to the end times? Perhaps, but maybe not. In early January of 2020, a little story was mentioned about a particular incident concerning a solar eclipse, an effect that was captured by a photographer in the Persian Gulf. He managed to get this incredible shot of the sunrise that appears to look like two gigantic devil horns emerging from the horizon during the rare solar eclipse. The photographer shared a series of pictures in which the sun appears in different shapes before taking the shape of a crimson crescent. The sun was partially obscured by the moon as it passed during the eclipse. Incredibly, the eclipse also occurred at sunrise when the sky was deep red. The shots were taken by photographer Elias Kasotis, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, Elias, who planned to take the pictures of the eclipse as it happened, but got way more than he bargained for. The eclipse, coupled with the mirage effects on the ocean surface, gave the sunrise an evil appearance. I had hoped the optical effects like inferior mirage would be visible, and I was lucky enough to capture them. I was worried that nothing would come out of the eclipse. However, when the sun finally began to rise, it looked like two separate pieces, some sort of red horns piercing the sea. It soon took the form of a crescent, with the so-called Etruscan vase and inferior image effect visible. Due to its shape, the phenomenon was nicknamed the evil sunrise. The effect Elias captured on his camera is called Fata Morgana. It occurs when the light appears to bend as it passes through layers of air. The phenomenon can often be seen in a lot of desert images. However, in hindsight, and seeing this ominous vision appear early in the dawning of 2020, now that we know what happened with 2020 and the current era we're in now, could it be that this was a foreboding sign in the sky warning us of the approaching end times? Perhaps, but maybe not. Is a monster lurking within the swamps of Honey Island, Louisiana? Perhaps, but maybe not. Honey Island Swamp, a vast swampland area in southern Louisiana, is considered by many naturalists to be one of the most pristine swampland habitats in the United States. Honey Island Swamp is 27 miles in length and 7 miles wide. The northern portion consists of vast pine forests which are under the control of the Bogito National Wildlife Refuge. The middle and bottom portions of the swamp act as a floodplain for the Pearl River and are managed by the Louisiana Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. 70,000 acres of this swampland is permanently protected. Very few roads travel into the area, and it's accessible only by boat or foot. The area is a haven for wildlife such as black bear, alligators, white-tailed deer, feral hogs, rabbits, squirrels, fish, birds, and an ever-dwindling population of Florida panther, once common across Louisiana. But some believe that lurking in the deepest parts of the swamp, parts seldom traveled by man, there lives a monster. Starting in the early 1960s, as man began to push further into the swampland, locals began to encounter a large, hair-covered bipedal creature, which would come to be known as the Honey Island Swamp Monster. The first documented sighting of the creature took place in early August of 1963, when a retired air traffic controller, Harlan E. Ford, and a friend, Ray Mills, emerged from the deep recesses of Honey Island with an incredible story. The pair of veteran hunters claimed that while out in the swamps they came across a large creature hunched over the body of a dead boar. The strange creature apparently had ripped the boar's throat out. Mr. Ford described the creature as being covered in dingy gray hair, with longer hair hanging from its head. As the creature glared menacingly at him and his partner, Mr. Ford noticed the creature's clawed hands before it fled into the woods. The two estimated the creature to weigh about 400 pounds and stood about 7 feet tall. But what they remembered most were its sickly yellow eyes, set apart on its skull, and the horrific stench which surrounded the beast. Although Harlan Ford's and Ray Mills' report was the first official documented sighting of the Honey Island Swamp Monster, stories of this ferocious creature date back hundreds of years. The Native Americans of the area called the creature Letishi and described it as a carnivorous, aquatic humanoid. They believed that it was once an abandoned child who was raised by alligators in the uncharted regions of the swamp. Cajuns called the creature loup-garou, which has often been misinterpreted as werewolf. The Honey Island Swamp Monster has been blamed for numerous human and livestock deaths, which seem to have plagued the area for decades. One of the strangest legends surrounding the Honey Island Swamp Monster revolves around a train wreck which allegedly occurred near the Pearl River in the early part of the 20th century. According to this legend, the train was full of exotic animals from a traveling circus, which fled into the swamps after the train derailed. While most of the creatures would soon perish in the harsh swampland, the legend goes on to tell us that a troop of chimpanzees managed to survive and even went as far as to interbreed with alligators. The result was a strange colony of reptilian-like mammals. Some researchers believe that the Honey Island Swamp Monster is related to Bigfoot. The body size certainly is a match, as most Bigfoot sightings estimate the creature to be about 7 feet tall and covered in hair. However, the tracks found in and around Honey Island Swamp do not resemble tracks collected in the Pacific Northwest. They are 4- and sometimes 3-toed, which, like tracks discovered in southeastern Texas and parts of Florida. Casts made by Harlan Ford are about 10 to 12 inches long, and have 3 long, thin toes next to each other, and a 4th set back on the inside, rather like a thumb. Some researchers believe that this could be an isolated population of Bigfoot, cut off from other Bigfoot creatures. They were forced to breed with members of the same family. While inbreeding takes place, the first area to be affected with genetic deformities are fingers and toes. This theory may explain why the Honey Island Monster and other southern hominids tracks only have 3 or 4 toes. The mystery of the Honey Island Swamp Monster continues to this day, with a handful of eyewitnesses reporting encounters each year. One thing is for sure, if there were ever an area to hide a large creature from human eyes, Honey Island Swamp would be the place. So, is there a half chimpanzee, half alligator, inbred mutant lurking in the swamps of Honey Island? Perhaps, but maybe not. Aliens are actually humans from the future? Perhaps, but maybe not. aliens are distant human descendants that travel back in time to study past generations, says Michael Masters, professor of biological anthropology at Montana Technological University. He detailed his theory in a book called Identified Flying Objects. In it, he discussed several issues that have been bugging conspiracy theorists and ordinary people for years. People who allege they have encountered aliens speak of pale, human-like creatures with big heads. Professor Masters says trends in biological and cultural anthropology indicate that future humans will have a form similar to that.
These are namely an expanded neurocranium, increase in brain size, and more importantly, a change in the shape of the upper skull, where it becomes more globular and more rounded. Retraction and reduction of our lower face, which has dominated the last 6 million years of human evolution. So just looking at the most ubiquitous descriptions of these individuals, if we can take that seriously and we can believe these reports, the fact they consistently describe a bipedal, big-headed, small-faced, hairless, very human-like being, I think is worth taking into consideration.
Professor Masters claims that the laws of physics do not prohibit time travel. The scientist says that Albert Einstein, in his famous theory of relativity, detailed a way in which backward time travel is possible. Masters believes that given our history of technological innovation, it's just a matter of time before humans figure out how to engineer a time machine and the materials to withstand energy and force that impact it during time travel.
You have Van Stockman, Professor Frank Tipler, the Gödel universe. All of these models and all of these formula that have been developed out of Einstein's original field equations demonstrate that if you have a large enough mass of highly energetic body with rotational force, it can create rendering and it can create the reorientation of light cones toward the past and therefore close time-like curve.
Whatever that means, I suspect involves achieving time travel. Yeah. As for flying saucers, so-called alien ships that people allege to have seen over the years, Professor Masters say they are probably time machines themselves, citing rotational force. Although his theory sounds like a plot from a sci-fi movie, Masters insists that it's testable, and this fact gives his theory a little more credence.
If we continue to exist, we will eventually reach a point where we know whether or not that is us getting in these crafts and traveling back in time to study our own evolutionary past, or even if we annihilate ourselves and destroy the human race, we've still essentially tested and falsified this hypothesis.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to extinction and annihilation of the human race in order to come to a conclusion of the hypothesis. So, are we destined to become pale-skinned, bald creatures with giant heads that travel through time? Perhaps, but maybe not. And now it's time for perhaps, but maybe not. Nobody knows for sure who or what the Shadow Man is, but it may be the ghost of a man who was convicted of stalking and kidnapping children. He was caught at a home he had broken into a few days before and was being dragged off to the gallows after his trial when he overpowered the guards and ran into the woods. A huge search was organized, and the entire forest was thoroughly searched, but he was never found. A few years later, children started going missing again, and some people thought that it must be him. Their suspicions were put to rest, however, after one of the missing children came back. The 5-year-old boy was questioned, and during a police interview, he revealed that he was captured by a shadow man with big red eyes and a funny hat. Since then, there have been many more reports of this shadow man. The shadow is described as being a shadow of a tall man with a bowler's hat and glowing red eyes. He can assume almost any form he chooses and slip through any door. He will plague children with nightmares about a strange man in a bowler's hat grabbing them and taking them away to an old hut. After a few days, he will creep into the child's room and stare down at them with his glowing red eyes until they wake up. The child will be petrified with fear, and that is when the Shadow Man will whisk them off, and the child will never be seen again. The scariest part is that he could be anywhere, at any time, and you can never be sure if he is there, watching you. So, is the Shadow Man some ethereal demon from a dark netherworld? Or just some creepy pervert in black? Perhaps, but maybe not. We interrupt this program to bring you the special Nailsin News Bulletin. Man admits ghost did not plant meth in his home. Hello, I'm Mr. Nailsin. A man who surmised that a ghost may have planted methamphetamine in his Louisiana home eventually admitted that he, and not an otherworldly force, was responsible for the drug being in his residence. Michael Ottenberry, 60, was arrested in October after police arrived at his home in response to a purported assault. Ottenberry, cops say, had called 911 to claim that he had been stabbed on the head by an axe. When officers arrived at Ottenberry's West Monroe home, they determined that he was not suffering from any axe wounds, and there were no assailants in sight. Cops did, however, spot in plain view on a nightstand a brown paper bag containing approximately 1 gram of suspected methamphetamine. A subsequent pat-down of Ottenberry yielded a pill bottle containing an additional gram of meth. Quizzed by cops, Ottenberry said that a ghost or intruders planted the drugs before climbing out a bedroom window. This claim, investigators determined, was not accurate. Charged with narcotics possession and making a false report to police, Ottenberry subsequently pleaded guilty to the felony drug charge. He was sentenced to serve 6 months at hard labor, which is Louisiana for time in state custody, where nobody is breaking rocks in the hot sun. Ottenberry, whose lengthy rap sheet includes prior drug collars, was released from the Wichita Correctional Center 2 weeks ago. This has been a Nailsin News Bulletin. And now, back to your program. And now, it's time for Perhaps, but maybe not. Across the world, a new drug-resistant infection has appeared. The New York Times reported that an elderly man was admitted to Mount Sinai Hospital's branch in Brooklyn for abdominal surgery. After getting his blood tested, it was revealed that he was infected with the Candida auris, a fungus that was recently discovered but has been identified in patients around the world. The fungus is most deadly to those with already weak immune systems. The elderly man, who was not named by the Times, was isolated in the intensive care unit, but died 90 days later. What makes his case so frightening is that after his death, doctors tested his room and discovered the fungus was everywhere.
Everything was positive. The walls, the bed, the doors, the curtains, the phones, the sink, the whiteboard, the poles, the pump.
Dr. Scott Lauren, president of the Brooklyn branch, told the Times.
The mattress, the bed rails, the canister holes, the window shades, the ceiling, everything in the room was positive.
The hospital had to use special cleaning equipment and even had to remove part of the ceiling and floors to get rid of the fungus. Reports of CRS have come from Venezuela, Spain, Great Britain, India, Pakistan, and South Africa, according to the Times. In the U.S., patients in Illinois and New Jersey have also been reported, as well as others in New York, like the man you just told us about. The Centers for Disease Control said it identified 51 clinical case patients and 61 screening case patients in New York alone. Okay, well, so yeah, New York's in the list. The CDC reported 45% of the clinical case patients died within 90 days. Further, in the same study, 98% of the clinical case patients were resistant to fluconazole, which is used to treat serious fungal infections such as meningitis. The strength and resistance of the infection led the CDC to deem CRS a serious threat and said it infected 3,400 and caused 220 deaths per year. The CDC also reported that the median age for the clinical case patients was 72, but that the ages of those infected ranged from 21 to 96 years. 51% of those infected were male, and all patients had serious concurrent medical conditions, such as needing mechanical ventilation or central venous catheters or gastrostomy tubes. Infections like CRS have been able to thrive due to the overuse of antibiotics. Yes, when they give you antibiotics, you need to take the full amount. Don't just quit after 5 pills. Jeez. Such overprescribing has reduced the effectiveness of the drugs, allowing once curable bacterial infections to thrive once again. Now, fungal infections are becoming resistant. Naturally, those at risk of these superbugs are newborns. Well, he said the range was 21 to 96, so, well. And the elderly, who generally have weaker immune systems. Yes, well, the world hasn't had a major global pandemic since the Spanish flu of 1918, so we're well overdue for one. So, could this be the beginning of a brand new pandemic? Well, yeah, it could be, but the title of the show is Perhaps, but maybe not.
Boy, that's a real old episode. Yeah.
Is the grave of Carl Pruitt cursed? Perhaps, but maybe not. The story of the curse of Carl Pruitt's grave goes back to an afternoon in 1938 in Pulaski County, Kentucky. Pruitt returned home after a day of work and expected to find his wife in the kitchen. Instead, he found her in a bedroom with another man. Enraged, Pruitt grabbed a chain and started to strangle her, while her lover used the opportunity to flee the scene. After she was dead, Pruitt committed suicide. Pruitt's wife's family refused to forgive Pruitt, so he was buried in a different cemetery in a different town. Visitors to the cemetery that came across Pruitt's grave noticed something odd going on. There was some discoloration that looked like circles, and then they started to link together, making it look like there was a chain on the tombstone. The odd discoloration drew the attention of some people, including a young group of boys who rode their bikes over to the cemetery about a month after the chain had formed. To impress his friends, one boy threw a rock at the tombstone, which chipped it. As the boy rode home, there was a freak accident, and the chain came off of his bike and wrapped around his neck, strangling him to death. The boy's mother was obviously devastated and decided to take it out on the tombstone. She took an axe and whacked at it a number of times. The next day, she was hanging up laundry when the clothesline somehow wrapped around her neck and strangled her. When her death was investigated, the axe was found with rock dust on it, and it was dented. But Pruitt's tombstone remained intact. A short time later, a farmer was riding in a horse-drawn cart with his family past the cemetery. For some foolish reason, he decided to fire his pistol at Pruitt's tombstone. The gunfire spooked the horses, causing them to speed up. The farmer's family jumped from the wagon, but the farmer stayed on until he was thrown from the carriage and a rein wrapped around his neck, strangling him. Next, two policemen who were convinced the curse was nonsense went to the cemetery and took pictures of themselves in the area of Pruitt's grave. As they drove away, a bright light started following them and they tried to speed away. This led them to driving off the road into a fence, and the officer in the passenger seat was thrown from the car but survived. His partner, on the other hand, had been nearly decapitated by a chain between the two fence posts. By the time the 1940s rolled around, most people were staying away from the cemetery out of fear of losing their own life. But not everyone did. One man went into the cemetery and started to smash the tombstone with a hammer. People could hear the hammer bashing against the tombstone, and then that was replaced by blood-curdling screams. The townspeople investigated the cemetery, and they found the man dead at the gates. Apparently, he was frightened by something and ran away. As he got to the exit, the chain used to lock the gates somehow, can you guess what happened? Yes, somehow wrapped around his neck, and guess what else happened? Yes, it strangled him to death. After that death, bodies were exhumed from the cemetery, and a stripping company removed all the markers, including Pruitt's wrathful tombstone. Of course, I don't know what happened to the workers for the stripping company, but, well. So, was this the case of mere coincidences of freakish deaths? Or was, indeed, the grave of Carl Pruitt cursed? Perhaps, but maybe not. Was the Limp family cursed? And is the Limp mansion haunted? Perhaps, but maybe not. Built in 1868, the Limp Mansion in Benton Park, St. Louis, Missouri, boasted a cave where the Limp family brewed their own beer. In 1901, William J. Limp was left devastated when his fourth son, Frederick Limp, died of ill health. In 1904, William committed suicide by gunshot, and William J. Billy Limp Jr. took over the family business. In 1920, Elsa Limp Wright, the youngest Limp child, shot herself following her divorce. As a result of Prohibition, the family brewery was sold at auction after hitting hard times. And Billy Jr. also shot himself in 1922. Years later, in 1949, Charles Limp, the third son, shot himself in the head after killing the dog. The only surviving son, Edwin Limp, died of natural causes, and his dying wish was for every family heirloom to be destroyed. Not surprisingly, the Limp Mansion, now a restaurant and inn, is said to be haunted. One legend is that there was another Limp son who was born deformed and hidden away in the attic. His spirit is believed to haunt and torment the house. Once the home of a famous beer baron and his family, St. Louis, Missouri landmark Limp Mansion is now a favorite destination for ghost hunters, and for good reason. In 1980, Life magazine named the house one of the 10 most haunted places in America. The house was built in 1868 and bought in 1876 by William Lemp Sr., who had taken over the family's brewing business after his father's death in 1862. It was later expanded to the luxurious estate that it is today. The building also contains many secret passageways, some of which link the house, which also served as Lemp's business office, with the nearby brewery. When William Lemp Sr.'s son Friedrich died of a heart attack at age 28, the family's legacy of misfortune began. Further tragedies took their toll on William Sr., who took his own life in 1904, just 3 years after his son's death. More tragedies followed, including the death of William's mother from cancer and the apparent suicide of Elsa Lemp Wright in 1920 under mysterious circumstances. The arrival of Prohibition led to the brewery's closing, after which William Jr. also committed suicide. The tragedy didn't stop there. William's son Charles, an eccentric recluse, given to extreme depression, shot himself in 1949 and left cryptic instructions that his body be buried in a secret location. To this day, no one knows why. It's no surprise that a home with such a grim legacy would become the focal point for alleged supernatural activity, and it wasn't long before the mansion developed a reputation for being not just haunted, but extremely haunted. It was turned into a boarding house, but business was disrupted by tenants' complaints of strange nocturnal noises. It was bought in 1975 and converted into a restaurant and inn, which is still in business today, but even during the renovation, strange phenomena plagued the workers, scaring some of them away for good. Yes, you can still reserve your very own room at the Lemp Mansion, but bear in mind that strange happenings are still being reported by the staff, including objects flying across rooms, unexplained sounds, and ghostly apparitions. So, was this indeed a cursed family whose troubled spirits now haunt the very mansion they once resided in life? Perhaps, but maybe not. Have archaeologists found a rare witch bottle? Perhaps, but maybe not. Yes, it might just be an old bottle that was used to store nails, but archaeologists who found it suspect something far more intriguing. They suspect Union soldiers used it as a witch bottle during the Civil War to fend off evil spirits. If so, it would be one of only a dozen or so such bottles ever found in the U.S. The discovery came during a dig near Williamsburg as part of a project to widen Interstate 64. Archaeologists found the glass bottle filled with nails near an old hearth used by Civil War soldiers. The bottle was made in Pennsylvania, and troops from that state once occupied this particular fortification. It's a good example of how a singular artifact can speak volumes, says Joe Jones of the William and Mary Archaeological Center. It's really a time capsule representing the experience of Civil War troops, a window directly back into what these guys were going through occupying this fortification at this period in time. Witch bottles were bottles stuffed with odds and ends, and usually urine, meant to trap demons. They are placed near a hearth so the heat of the fire heats the nails, which helps trap and hold evil spirits, explains Jones. The practice is believed to have begun overseas in the Middle Ages and was brought to America by colonialists. In this case, traces of urine would help substantiate the theory. But because the neck of the bottle was broken, any liquid is long gone. Still, the bottle's placement near the hearth makes the theory compelling. So, is it just a piss-stained old bottle filled with rusty nails? Or could it be a trap for evil spirits? Perhaps, but maybe not.
Well, that's it for all the spooky stories, I guess. I could have sworn there was more. The above influencers of all kinds. Would be funny if one of the kids was named Dick Limp. He probably invented Viagra. I guess so, considering all the tragedies they had. Spirit sounds like a Neckel file. Yeah. Is Pillow taking over the chat with his obnoxious stupidity? Perhaps, but maybe not. Wasn't likely though. Gotta say, this Swamp Thing Gilly sighting story. I hear Sulu's tone in your narrative. Yeah, I hear that from time to time when I'm doing that voice, and yeah, I can see what they mean. Pillow, Evil Sunrise, aka Gilly Sun. Pillow, if they say Gilly's lower half bones in if they find Gilly's lower half bones in 3,000 years, they'll think those big beastly human types existed in our day. Wow. Pillow, the Gilly monster. Really on the Gilly theme. Pillow, Beastie Boys' first album is called License to Eel. Hello, last time I saw anything like that was in Return of the Jedi. Oh yeah, and what was it? The Sarlacc pit that Boba Fett got turned into. Well, actually, he didn't. He survived, according to his own show. Anyway, Pillow, if there is, they should change the name to Gobi. Gobi Dead Desert. Nodak salutes Direct 13. Pell says, why don't people who do that hide evidence where they know people won't be? Yeah, that's the thing. Putting a dead body in a mattress, I guess they just, gee, I was in a hurry and I'll just stuff it in there and then leave. And maybe people won't remember I was the one in the room. I guess that's the thinking. I don't know. Everybody's saying hi to everybody. Yeah. D-Rex saying morning. Pella, I wish just once, I guess, I could find money under the mattress, but no, always bodies. Yeah, ain't that the way? Yeah. Pella, oh, I heard this late about the body under the bed. Yeah. So, okay, everybody said hi. Nodak said hit the like button. Gee, I hope you did. Pella, all that evidence I knew it was close to a Compton. Pell, that date was close to the end of World War II. And he says hi. And D-Rex says morning, Dub. Morning to you, D-Rex. All right. Okay. Oh. Wait, this is a lot. Ice cold, says Seiko. Detectivation. Damn you, cuh. Seiko says stupid equals dog. You mean like from the Jerk movie? Seiko, don't call people like me stupid. Seiko says call them idiot. Huh. Or flunky. Well, there's a lot of options, Seiko, for you people who have the time to word, then go. You can't chat at Babylon. You can't? They go 9 like, LOL. 8 plus me. Oh, the like. Oh, well, thank you. Dog. Bible word for ones to exclude. Huh. Well, you see, you learn a lot here on, I don't know. So I guess I don't know. I got to do the Kumia thing, and then I guess I'll take off. Gee, that went by quick. I thought it would. It was an hour, so I don't know. It's almost as if I'm sick with a cold and can't think straight. Oh, yes, that's right, I am. Jeez, this is terrible. So anyway, yeah, that's a bunch of those. I'll probably do another batch. But it kind of works out for just, drawing and stuff. When I run out of stuff to say, I can have a video. And I can't believe I'm so stupid as, well, yeah, I can. It's better to just load it up as a shared media rather than having it uploaded into EVMux because, well, I had better control over it. I mean, I didn't say much, but occasionally I might, want to chime in on something like the old ad on the old video and stuff for the Selfie store that no longer exists. Stuff like that. Well, I can pause it. When it's a full-on video loaded up in here, I couldn't. And I was like, damn it. So, like I've done similar things before. So you see, turns out it's a good thing I did this. Rather than just saying, screw this, I'm sick, I don't want to do it. But it's like, well, I do want to at least get another hour in. I'm trying my best, which isn't good enough, but, I'm still trying my best. And sooner or later, I should have the watch hours for YouTube to think, I don't know, do we really want to monetize this idiot? And they'll probably say no. But the important thing is I tried. Yeah, I did. It just wasn't enough, Sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles. The little cookie that crumbled as best it could, only to discover all its efforts were for naught because, well, it just wasn't good enough. What happens to all those cookies? Well, they go in the trash. I think someone will eat them anyway. Even a cookie that's kind of crumbled, it's still going to taste sweet unless whoever baked it didn't know what the hell they were doing. And I don't know, tastes like crap. That's just a crime against humanity. Even if the cookie's kind of ugly to look at, it still should taste good because it's got its ingredients along with the sugar, that oh so important sugar. Makes it all sweet and gives you a tasty treat. And you can get past the appearance. It's like, I don't know, you're supposed to put a smiley face on it with icing or something. And what the hell? I have no idea how to make cookies. That's not true. I did it a couple of times, but I was like, I'll just buy them at the store. And that's what I did. Yeah. I can't say I made them. I just went and also bought it at the store, and it was just one of those tubes, and you open it up and dump it in the pan. Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. It's the original statement's true. I don't know crap about cookies. All right. There we go. I think I'll stop there for the night drawings. Here we will go for the Kumia image, and continuing with my Star Trek behind the scenes scene. Here we have, who knows what episode this was. Apparently the date they were shooting was November 24th, 1967. And there's the clipboard, whatever you call it. But here's a full-on face pose of William Shatner as Captain Kirk getting ready for his scene. Looks really bored. I don't know if this was a scene that required Captain Kirk to be terribly bored, but I guess he was going to snap into character as soon as they pulled that thing out of the way for him to do his scene, I'm sure. But anyway, I'm going to use that as the final Trek-themed image for Kumia, and I've got one of my favorite images of him. And he's staring straight forward. You know, whoop whoop whoop. I got the wrong button. Um, so I can kind of fit him in there. His head's a little tilted upwards more than Shatner's looking down, so it won't fit exactly. But I could make it work. Besides, I'm gonna let him have Shatner's toupee there, and that'll work. I think Allie Lerner took this picture. I'm not sure. Or it might have been Big A. Can't remember. But it's a funny shot. You know, he's just making a face. But it comes in handy quite a bit for different scenes. Like he's going to be really surprised by something or something like that. And here, I don't know, he's just standing there like, what the hell am I doing on the set of Star Trek? I don't know, but you're there. And there you go. See? Fits right in. Now, this is another one where the deterioration of the photo had too much red in it. And I took it out as much as possible, but it's really bad. So I'm going to try ever so gingerly to desaturate the ginger here. There. Don't want to go too far. It'll just be like gray hair. All right, I think that'll work. And then we will do this. Yeah. All right. See, you don't even have to do much. It just looks silly and stupid, which makes it funny. And that's all that matters. Might add a little bit of the noise. If you put too much, it looks like that. See, oh no, his face disappeared. Then you want to keep it a little bit. All right, it should match up. All right, he's got a little bit of that in there, but probably need to put the Gaussian blur. Okay. So it has both that and that, so it kind of more or less fits in with this very deteriorated image. But there you go. You get the deal. I don't know what ADA stands for, or 2. Maybe season 2, maybe? I don't know. Somebody in the film business, especially with knowledge of how it was done in them their old-timey days, could explain. But anyway, there we go. And eventually I need to do a tour of my Anthony Photoshops again. See, that can make a show. So there you go. Captain Kumia reporting for duty. Duty. One more time on Starship Compound Censored .tv. So there you go. All right. Well, best I could do, battling a cold, and I managed to get through. Well over an hour. Look at that. Damn, if I had the ability to go a little further, I could get 2 out of it. But oh God, jeez, I don't like colds. Seiko says the core getting it right, man. Seiko, I like this but won't subscribe because the succubus. The succubus. Seiko, I'm out of here. Karmic, was that you? Oh, anyway, Tiberius Cumia. Yes. Tiberius Cumia. Yeah, that works. All right. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I can do another one before I have to go back to work. I assume I am going back to work. I'm hoping this will clear up by then. Oh, jeez. Obviously, I need to go to bed. So I'm hoping I can do another one later tonight. If not, well, at least I got this one done. So there you go. Weird and spooky stories, and me doing Photoshop art. Yay. Yay. So have a good rest of your day. And like I said, hopefully I'll get to do it again relatively soon. Relatively soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Possessed by the devil, danced her ass off nightly at the Casa Diablo. He was a DJ, obsessed with the turntable, spun out booty shaking tunes nightly at at the Casa Diablo. Sell your soul at the Casa Diablo. Show your hoe at the Casa Diablo. Johnny said she was a little off, but never thought she was crazy. He said the DJ really loved his dog, but beyond music he was kinda lazy. At the Casa Diablo, sell your soul. At the Casa Diablo, grind the pole. At the Casa Diablo, she'd bump and grind under a crescent moon. I studied every tan line. Then the DJ spun the wrong tune. Found a knife in his back and a screech from hell. Then his blood went splat. At the Casa Diablo, burn the coal. At the Casa Diablo, pay the toll. At the Casa Diablo, Casa Diablo, Casa Diablo, Casa Diablo.
As the song goes, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Turns out that was truer than most realize. People think Spider-Man shoots webs out of these devices on his wrists that he invented. This is true, but he also naturally shoots webs out of his ass. Butt webbing wasn't very practical, so he made the wrist things. However, sometimes, especially after a bout of diarrhea, Spider-Man ended up with his ass glued to the toilet seat. So when Dr. Octopus robs a bank or the Green Goblin bombs a hospital, people ask, where the hell was Spider-Man? Turns out he was stuck on the potty.
Oh, that's great. Bullets bouncing off the robot into the crowd, slaughtering everyone in the street. Yeah, great job.
Guns are never the answer.
None of the other guns work, but mine's gonna be the one that does, damn it, because Mom told me I was special. Come on, man. If them machine guns couldn't do the job, what makes you think your pea shooter will? Ah, now to stuff my ass with bright, shiny things.
Now you wait here. I'll phone this in.
No man's gonna tell me what to do. Dead straight.
Oh, they done straight about you.
What?
Pearls tickle. Holy crap, she's trying to climb up inside that robot's ass.
Yes, I'll give you the details later, Chief.
So you called him up just to tell him you'd call him later.
Lois!
Oh, they never learn.
This is a job for Superman.
It was a job for Superman 5 minutes ago. Ah, that's better. I just don't feel right until I'm in my blue pantyhose.
There's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
There's everything wrong with it. Whoa, what the hell? All of a sudden he's Linda Blair. Now that's just his x-ray vision.
Oh, now that's terrible.
No, it ain't. No, get off. I don't swing that way. What the hell? Someone's humping my robot. What was I doing? Oh, yeah, the robot. Ow, 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 ow.
Shut up and get back in my ass.
Well, it's about damn time. Just where you been, young man? Well, that's about right. Out carousing all night and bringing home strange women.
What a story this is going to make.
Yeah, you might want to keep the story of you being dropped out of a robot's ass to yourself.
What have you done with the jewels?
You'll read about it in tomorrow's paper.
But I don't have a subscription. Oh, man, he's going for her titties.
Oh, man, now stop that. Come on.
I ain't doing it. Oh, geez, what a mess. I'm all tangled up. Well, I'll just rip my way out of it. Of course, it'll cut off power to hospitals and people could die, but I gotta save Lois.
It's said that King Arthur was Britain's greatest ruler. Well, he got the throne by pulling a sword out of a rock. This gave him a massive hernia. He turned to Merlin, but eating rat tails and rubbing frog guts all over will not cure a hernia. Anyway, he couldn't fuck all that well on account of his condition. So his wife turned to Lancelot. Yeah, he hired a guy named Lancelot to guard his horny wife. So Lancelot lanced her, a lot. Meanwhile, Arthur got seduced by his sister, and their inbred offspring did him in. It's all sad if not so stupid. Still, though, Britain would be better off with a ruler like Arthur today.
You may have noticed you don't hear from Tarzan much these days. Well, turns out his pet chimp, Cheetah, was really jealous. And one day he caught Tarzan fucking Jane. Cheetah freaked out and took liberties with Tarzan's anatomy. Cheetah relieved Tarzan of his sack with his foot. Yeah, the fact that he used his foot was an extra fuck you from Cheetah. Anyway, Tarzan ordered an elephant to stomp Cheetah, but the damage was done. Jane left him for a witch doctor. It's all sad.
Flash Gordon in Space Soldiers Conquer the Universe.
Because Black Death and Red Death were already taken.
Please wrap up.
Look at me!
Okay, we're all done here.
Fucking pathetic!
No, we're all done. Come on.